The next couple of videos are going to be from Atlanta, Georgia. Well, Amy's contract in Macon is up in 3 days, so she's got 3 shifts left, and we're done here in Georgia, where we will be moving on. So, you know, I've done lots of stuff all over central Georgia, and I wanted to spend the last few days here in Atlanta because there's lots of stories and lots of things to see here. Today's video, it's a true crime story, and just right up the road in Stone Mountain, Georgia, an 18-year-old girl was shot and killed, and it's a wild story involving drugs and gangs. And today we're going to be asking the question, who shot Honey Malone? "18-year-old Vanessa Malone. She, well, from a very young age, she always said that she was going to be famous, and she needed a famous name, and Vanessa just wasn't it. She didn't like it. So from a very early age, Vanessa wanted to be called Honey, and her mother obliged.
My name is Honey. I'll be an actress one day. I'm gonna make it. So when you look at this video, you're gonna be famous by the time, you know what I'm saying?
Now, Honey she was an exceptional student growing up, but when she went to high school, she started making friends with the wrong people, and some of her close friends were drug dealers. No one ever really accused Honey of selling drugs, but she did hang out with people who did. She even got to make it into a rap video one time for one of her friends. She was like one of the backup dancers in the background. She was just an absolutely beautiful girl in the prime of her life. So one night, Honey left home. Before she left that night, she walked out of her home to tell her mom, "I love you, and I'll be right back. I'm going down here to a friend's house." So Honey walks, it's about a 5-minute walk for her. She walks down here to this apartment complex, and Honey was never seen again alive after that.
911, what's the address of the emergency?
A couple of hours later, the police department gets a 911 call. The 911 caller is talking frantically, and it's hard to understand him on the phone. But what they get out of it is several men, between 3 and 6, they weren't exactly sure on the correct number, busted into a home, tied up the tenants with just things laying around the house. Nothing, they didn't bring anything with them or anything like that. They used like a TV power cord and stuff, and they tied up all their hands. They forced them into the bathtub. According to police, this robbery was taking place in this apartment complex here, and it just so happened to be the apartment of Honey's friend, whom she was going to visit. So Honey opens the door to find these intruders in there robbing the place. They see her and open fire. Honey Malone had been shot and killed by these intruders. They drug her from near the front door in the living room, through the living room, down the hallway, into the master bedroom, and then into the master closet, and they laid her on top of a pile of dirty clothes. That's where her body was discovered when police entered the home. So the police come in, they do their investigations. The police very quickly learn that these guys are drug dealers and that this was a hit. These guys were coming in to steal the drugs and money that were inside of the apartment, and they believe that Honey walked in on it, she discovered them in the process of, and she was killed for that. Her family disputes that, though. Honey's family says that they believe Honey knew a whole lot about what went on in that house, the dealings and illegal activities that went on there. So Honey's family thinks that she was coaxed into coming over that night, that Honey was called and said, hey, come over here, and then as soon as she got there, she was instantly killed. Now, her family, they do raise some serious questions about the police's investigation, and it brings up a lot of doubts as to their theory. For instance, they pretty much officially classified it as a robbery that Honey just so happened to walk into, like a wrong place, wrong time kind of thing. But if it was a robbery, then why was nothing taken from the apartment except for one lone cell phone? And then on top of that, all of the victims had different stories. The three people who were tied up in the bathtub all had different stories. Like, one said that it was 3 intruders, while another one said there were 6. One of them said that they were tied up with power cords from the TVs and stuff, while another one said that they were all tied up with black belts. And then I totally agree with Honey's family here. Why would they only have killed Honey? Why would they leave survivors to go to the police and give descriptions and tell what happened? If you are going to kill one, why not kill them all? It just doesn't make sense. There's a ton of questions that we may never get an answer to. The cell phone, the lone cell phone that was taken from the apartment, it was Honey's. Why? Why take her cell phone and no one else's? It's wild. It makes no sense. Now, the police did find her cell phone several days after her death, after the shooting. It was about a half a mile away from the apartment. It appears as if it had just been tossed out by whoever took it. There was no fingerprints on it. It had not been used, so ultimately they got no leads from it. It led to nothing. They go back and forth. Did the guys who lived there set up Honey, or did she walk in on them being robbed? Either way, the people of the apartment are somewhat responsible. Them doing these illicit activities caused it. They arrested as many of them as they could on drug charges and this and that or the other, but they couldn't be arrested for Honey's murder. They had no proof of it. 8 years go by, and there's still nothing. All of a sudden, out of the blue one day in April of this past year, 2020, 8 years later, the police finally make their first arrest in the case. The DeKalb County Sheriff's Department held a press conference and announced that 36-year-old Donald Ash was arrested and charged with concealing facts involving a murder, making false statements to police, and second-degree murder. Now, you may not recognize him from this picture, but Donald Ash, he was one of Honey's friends and one of the residents of that apartment. So it turns out that at least one of Honey's murderers was one of her own friends. Obviously, now knowing that they have arrested this guy and they have evidence that he was the one that shot her, I really don't believe that it was a robbery anymore. That just kind of throws that out of the window for me, because why would he burglarize or rob his own house or apartment? It just doesn't make sense. So why did Donald Ash kill Honey Malone? The Sheriff's Department still has not changed their story, I guess you would call it. They continue to say that it was an armed robbery. The police said that Ash apparently confessed to a few people that he had actually shot Honey Malone. And then the police ended that press conference by saying that more arrests are expected. But here we are, almost another year later. He hasn't gone to trial yet, so he has not been found guilty. No other arrests have been made, and there has been no justice for Honey Malone or her family. There is a $50,000 reward leading to the arrest and conviction of anyone responsible for the death of Honey Malone. So if you're from the Atlanta or Metro Atlanta area and you know anything about this, call the Georgia Crime Stoppers and let them know. And you could potentially receive 50 grand just for telling them what you know, so Honey and her family can finally get justice. That is going to do it for this episode today from here in Metro Atlanta. I want to thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you're new here, go down and hit that subscribe button, then hit that notification bell so you get notified every time I upload a video. I will have another video coming from Atlanta probably tomorrow, but until then, thank you guys. I really appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow. Please stay safe and stay healthy. And try to stay warm too. This is like the last cold front, I think, for a little while, so stay warm.